Hello there and welcome to the System Software video as part of OCR J276 GCSE Computer Science. In today's video we are going to be looking at what system software is, why it's so important, looking at operating systems as well. There's the learning outcomes for today's lesson so we can see the challenge of what we're looking at so you can see where you need to be pitching your work. System software, strangely enough, is software that allows you to interface with a system. The classic example of a piece of system software also being the BIOS, basic input-output system, and also more commonly used all the time, the operating system. And what this allows you to do is directly interface and connect with your computer system. Make sure you're happy with systems software. We've got this statement here, which is called creating the illusion of control. It's something that I'm going to be referring to quite a bit, so make sure you're happy that system software is all about creating the illusion of control. So pause the video, answer the questions, and then we'll move on. Operating systems allow you to control the hardware you're using. So you use a keyboard to type letters. You have a monitor to see displays. I'm talking into a microphone that records the output. The operating system allows you to do this. Imagine we've got Bob using a computer and Bob's typing away, he's using his mouse, but Bob actually isn't in control because he is the user who is using the software which is linked to the hardware. And this section here is what the operating system is doing. So the operating system allows the user to think they're in control, that they're in charge, but they're not. The operating system is in overall control of the computer, and the operating system interacts with the computer and it does all the work. Bob doesn't. So the operating system creates the illusion that Bob's in control, Bob's not in control. Bob is telling the operating system what to do, but Bob is not in control, the operating system is. So the operating system provides either a CLI, command line interface, or a GUI, graphical user interface. So with the command line interface, you type commands, which is very powerful, and if you know what you're doing, helpful. But, for example, we can see that this is in English. If you're not English, you need to learn another language. So for example, if I was going to connect to a Russian server using the command line interface, I'd have to learn myself Russian. Yes, there are commands such as CD for change directory or RM for delete. I don't know what they would be in Russian. Whereas a graphical user interface is easy to use. It's clear. It's customizable. It appears to be nicer. So when someone is using a computer for the first time, you're going to be looking at a graphical user interface as opposed to a command line interface. If we're thinking about memory management, again, we've got Bob here. Bob thinks he's in control, but all the time Bob's using his computer, this is actually what's going on. We've got the main memory where the CPU is doing its thing, and we've got the secondary memory, and all the time Bob is using his computer, he's downloading files, he's opening up documents, he's playing games. The memory management between the main memory, so what's going on in the RAM, what's going on in the cache memory, and the secondary memory, which is the secondary storage, is occurring all the time. Information is getting moved, it's getting swapped, it's getting edited, it's getting changed, it's getting deleted. That's happening all the time. Bob thinks he's doing it. Bob isn't doing. The operating system's doing it. So what I want you to do, show your knowledge of user interfaces and memory management, talk about what Bob's doing, what Bob's not doing, give the video a pause, and we'll move on. So, as we mentioned before, the operating system provides the link. So we've got the user here, this link here, between the user and the hardware. So at the moment I'm using a graphics tablet. I'm not in charge of the graphics tablet, the operating system is. So the drivers are special pieces of software which are written for the specific purpose of the computer being able to understand and know what a piece of hardware is and what it is doing. So for example, there's a specific driver for the graphics tablet I'm using, for my headset, for the monitors. So the drivers allow the computer to understand what's going on, because if I get rid of this device driver here and it just sees a printer, it's not going to know what's going on. So those device drivers need to be in place. Peripheral management here is for everything that's installed on the computer as you can see it. So you need to make sure that CD drives can be managed, that floppy drives, if you've still got them, can be managed, keyboards, mice, monitors, and again, this is all controlled by the operating system. You can change peripheral settings, so you can change the display settings on a monitor through the management of peripherals. And again, this is Bob. Bob thinks he does that himself. Bob doesn't do it himself. The operating system does. User management is really important because you want to make sure that people have got the right access levels, as we've looked at in other videos, and to make sure that personally you don't have that guest login, because with the guest login anyone can do anything they want to your PC as long as they're there and can physically access it. So user management allows people to access and use your computer. You only want to make sure only particular people can use your computer, otherwise they might do bad things. This is an image, if we're thinking about good old Bob. Bob thinks he has created this amazing folder system here with a phone list, with a budget folder, with an office folder, with all these being stored in here, with a network, with a recycle bin. Bob thinks he's done that. Bob hasn't done that. We've got a hard drive. In this case, it's quite an old screenshot, so we're going to say it's a magnetic hard drive. Bob thinks he's set everything nice and happily inside his hard drive. Bob hasn't. What the operating system has done is it's organized all the sectors, all the pieces of information which are stored in this hard drive in an easy to use way. Because if Bob had to load up the staff phone list, he wouldn't know to load that area, then that area, then this area, then that area, then that area. Bob wouldn't understand that. Bob understands double clicking on something and it loading up. So the file management means that Bob doesn't have to worry about finding individual pieces of information stored in a drive. He just needs to know what folder to click in. The folder structure here doesn't exist on this drive, but the illusion that it exists is what's been created for Bob. So, last activity for today, device drives of peripheral user and file management. What's it all about? Remember, this is Bob. Bob is not in control of the computer at all. The operating system is. I hope this video has been helpful for you. See you later on.